I'm glad everybody made it. We appreciate you coming. Be a nice meeting tonight. We'll move it right along. Mark, you want to take over?
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of reminders before we begin. Number one, we are now broadcasting live streaming on the World Wide Web, okay? So, and I tell you, we usually get 150 viewers or 200 viewers. Sometimes they don't view this until afterwards, but we do get viewers. So if you are a speaker or a staff member, Mr. Smeal, please speak clearly into the microphone, okay? Clearly and articulately into the microphone. Secondly, just a couple of other housekeeping items. Mr. Ventry, who some of you 8th graders will see as a principal next year, is wearing a tie for the first time this year. So Mr. Ventry, it's nice to see you in a tie. Second time, that's great. And thirdly, Mr. Petrozzi, member of the board, we have our robotics team. Then we have a presentation from Mr. Ventry, Mr. Ruffalo, and Mr. Corella on Zello. An agenda review. We will need this evening a 2-item executive session at some time, either between the 7 and 8 o'clock meeting or after the 8 o'clock meeting. I also want to begin by telling you that we really have, except for the students who are heroes, we have two of the 3 heroes. One had to leave. And I just wanted to ask Mr. McGrath, who's a coach, Miss Brady, you're still here? Would you stand up? These 2 individuals, along with Mr. Janice, I believe, if I'm correct. Miss Brady, Mr. McGrath, Mr. Janice came upon a person in distress in the airport, coming home from their trip, and I believe they saved a life. So it was fortuitous that not only we sent our robotics team, but they were on the scene to save a life of a person they never expected to encounter. So congratulations and thank you. You should be recognized. Thank you very much. Now, we have wonderful students here, and they're going to come up, or their coaches are going to come up in a minute. I do have a problem with some of the students that I was talking to them over dinner. They have a common 7th grade English teacher who they like. And I'm not sure they can judge their English teachers very well at LaSalle Prep. So you can tell him tomorrow, and I'm sure he's not watching, tell him that he needs to sing for you because he has a hidden talent. He's a very good singer, okay? So you make him sing and tell him that, don't tell him his father said, it said the superintendent said that he must sing, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're pleased and honored to have our robotics team, 13 members. Unfortunately, a few of them had other commitments, and their parents, and of course their outstanding coaches come before us. This Board of Education, when they heard you qualified, said, how fast can we get the team there? They're going. They're going. I said, it's in Dallas, Texas. They said, they're going. They're going, and they're going to represent the school district. And from what I've seen of the photographs, there were nearly 4,000 people there from 800 teams, not just from the United States. Not just from the United States. And it makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck when I think of how high you placed in this competition. 14th throughout the placement, it doesn't matter. You're in the top 100 of the world. That's pick up a globe and realize how good you are. So I say that, and it does give me goosebumps, and I say that because you are contributing to dispelling the thought that Niagara Falls students can't compete or aren't as good. You are not only as good, you're better. You are better than everyone that you faced. And you are our students. And to the parents in attendance, on behalf of the board, and really on behalf of myself, 2 things. Thank you for sending your children to our schools. So important to us. And thank you for the way you're raising your kids. You've obviously had a great impact on them, as I'm sure grandparents have, et cetera, et cetera. But we can compete with anyone, and we have programs that do. I'll stop there. Mr. Clark, Mr. McGrath, we're going to play the video. We have a 7-minute video that I want to ask the board and the audience to see. It's well done. We posted it for all of the district and the world to see on our website. But what I'd like to do now is ask Mr. Granieri to play the video, and then we'll certainly entertain any other comments from the coaches or administrators. And then I just want the students to introduce themselves, and I'll give you your homework ahead of time. Be prepared to say your name, your grade, and what you enjoyed most about either robotics or your trip, okay? That's the homework. And a good teacher, Mr. Corella, sets the anticipation for what should be done. So, can you dim the lights, I think? So, without any further ado, Earl is going to go and run and dim the lights, and then we're going to play this. This is, I think, Miss Colbago? Yes. Miss Colbago, your school media specialist, put this together. Have you guys seen it? It's pretty cool.
World Championship with Nacelle Prep's elite coaches. We've got Mr. Clark, Mr. Wisniewski, Mr. McGrath, and Miss Del Porto. We're going to hear some words from Mr. McGrath right now.
Dallas, Texas, Niagara Falls, New York, representing our community well, our schools well. Very proud of the kids.
Thank you for getting us down here. We appreciate all your support. We're hoping we can come back this year and maybe even win our division today.
Thank you.
I'm in 7th grade. I'm from French Toast Mafia, 11471K. I'd just like to thank you for all the confidence that you gave us and helping us get to Worlds, because this is a great opportunity for everybody that's going to come, and hopefully next year everybody gets to come. I really hope that we can hopefully bring home the first place trophy for Worlds. I'm Liliana Mr. Kiewitz from Team 11471K. I would like to thank the school board and superintendent, Mr. Laurie, for letting us have this amazing opportunity. It's been such a growing and learning experience. I love it.
Hi, I'm Ryan Janice. I'm on Team 11471M. I just want to thank the school board and Mr. Laurie for this opportunity and supporting us through robotics. And it's been an awesome experience in helping us connect with people from different countries and through robotics. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Michael Metler. I'm on Team Rover Revenge, and I want to say thank you to the school board for giving us this awesome experience. I hope that more kids can get involved with this because it's truly really fun. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laurie. Thank you, school board. Let's go,
Awesome job. That's a great video. Thank you for the way you represented. I think it might have been Ryan who said, we get to interact with people from all over the world. I thought that was a really cool statement. You got to see people from all over the world, which is a great experience. I'm not sure I like Mr. Wisniewski's shorts. We may be able to get him new shorts next year, right? Is he here? Okay. They're kind of crazy, but that was just great. Coaches, anything? Or you want to let the kids talk?
We just want to say thank you. They did a lot of work, so we'll let them have the stage.
Okay. Lucas, you're up first. Yeah, you're the 8th grader. You got to, most of you, so Lucas, you're going to set the tone. Your name, your grade, the best part. Speak loud, grab the mic and pass it around so everybody at home can hear you that's watching on the World Wide Web too.
Hello, just over here, out here.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Lucas Chamberlain. I'm in the 8th grade, and this whole experience, I just really liked connecting with other people and learning what they believe in and their strategies and just overall bettering the robotics community.
Thank you. Next.
I am Elijah Printup, and I'm in grade 7, and I love the fact that in robotics we can come together as a team and work together, even like with kids that aren't on our team, and I just love the opportunity that we get to have teamwork.
Great.
Hi, my name's Ryan Brady. I'm in 7th grade. It's just crazy how I got to go play with robots around like a bunch of different types of people that I would never get the chance to do anywhere else. We even had to use Google Translate to speak to some of the teams we went with. And it's just amazing that we had the chance to do that.
Nice job.
My name is Michaela Parise. I'm in 7th grade, and my favorite thing was probably getting to talk to like all the other teams from different places, and I got to use Google Translate to talk to a Spanish team, and it was really fun. So
Great.
thank you.
Great.
I'm Liliana Mr. Kiewitz, and I'm in 7th grade, and definitely my favorite part of it was like the family we created throughout our program, because it took a lot of work, but it was more fun than work, and we got to see these people every single day, and we talked to them, we strategized, and we had a lot of fun doing it.
Great job.
Hi, my name is Annalie Copeland. I'm in 7th grade, and I think my favorite part about robotics is coming in every day and having something to look forward to in the morning. I love coming down and being able to see my friends because I've made such great friendships in robotics, and I love coming down and just building a robot and seeing what's new and what I can fix. So.
Great. Thank you.
My name is Gino Berglio. I'm in 8th grade, and my favorite part of robotics is I get to talk to all my friends every single morning and in the afternoon. And my favorite part of the competition was that I got to see other people from all around the world in other countries and other states, and who all enjoyed robotics as much as I did.
Great job.
Hi.
My name's Aiden Chase. I'm in 7th grade, and my favorite part of the robotics trip was just the experience, all together. It was crazy that we were competing with some of the best teams in the whole world.
There you go.
My name is Ian Abby, and I think this experience was great. I'm in 7th grade, and I just had fun hanging around with my friends and cheering my team on.
Great job.
My name is DJ Knepple in 7th grade, and I just thought when you were there and you were practicing with all these teams, it was so fun with the experience, and then when you're sitting in the stand seeing some of the teams that you were practicing with on the world stage, it was super cool to see.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Metler. I'm in 7th grade, and my favorite part about robotics is that the work that we had to put in, all of us, to get to where we are now, going down there every morning, learning new strategies, new robot designs, and the fact that we got so far is just awesome to me.
Thank you very much. Great job. Yeah.
You guys could build robots to do anything, but you couldn't put the mic in, so.
Yeah. And you're a baseball player? You don't make any errors. You don't fumble the ball, right? Well, Mr. Clark, Mr. McGrath, Ms. Del Porto, I want to thank you and Mr. Wisniewski and Ms. Urban and Mr. Davis, who are here to support our team. I know the hours that you put in are not even countable, because there are, if I'm correct, a whole group of kids, other kids, participating in robotics too. A whole set of other students that aren't here that just were close, and that the goal is, about how many kids do you say you see overall?
This year we'll see about 36 kids.
Okay.
And the thing with our group is.
Yep. Please.
In a year, we see probably about 36 kids. We see them, I don't know, I think myself and Mr. Clark came up with, what did we say, about 500 hours of time we probably see them. And the good thing about our program is they're all world class. The bad thing is their stiffest competition is in the same room with them. So 5 teams got to qualify for the Worlds. If we brought just 5 teams there, we probably would have had all spots still, even if no matter who we brought. So the 5 teams that didn't make it, they're all still very motivated. They're ready to go next year. But the tough thing is they're all world class. I mean, their results speak for themselves. And, you know, it's tough because I feel bad for some of those kids that put in all this time. But even when they know they didn't qualify, they came down every single day. They worked with their teammates to get them better. And now they're ready to go for next year. Like, these guys have already, as soon as they came back from Texas, the next day, almost every kid came to school, and they were up till 12:30, 1 o'clock at night. They came in the next day. What is the first thing you guys did? They destroyed their robot that they just built to get down there to do what? To build a robot for next year. Like, that's how motivated they are. It's insane. It's awesome. Like, I'm so proud of them. Like, it just speaking about it just makes me so happy that, to see these kids grow. Some of them in 2 years, and they went through the COVID experience and halftime and social distancing, and they've matured so much in some in 2 years, some in 1 year, but their work ethic, I mean, if I'm a business person and I see these kids come in and I see the resume, I'd hire them, because we already had one team that was offered a internship. They basically were told, when you get old enough, give us a call. I mean, this is the workforce of the future, and they're ready to go. And the only thing I could say is thank you guys for supporting it. Thank my administrators for giving us the time to work with the kids, the parents. This just is a really good program, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud to say that I'm part of this club.
Thank you.
My family doesn't see me much, but
It's all right.
it's well worth it. I mean,
Yeah.
they're getting a great experience.
And we're really moving on Gaskill.
Yep.
We have a lot of LaSalle. It originated there, but we're starting to really get some good coaching and some good students from Gaskill. So we're going to have representatives from Gaskill in the future as well. So I know that they're on their way too. I just wanted to say, and again, I'll let the board ask any questions they want, but you represented us well. And when the competition moves to Hawaii, that's the year I think I'll go and chaperone. All right? I heard it might go to Hawaii one year, and that's the one I'll chaperone with. Dallas is all right, but I'm going to save my year for Hawaii. Members of the board, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question and a comment.
Yes.
First, the question is, you build a robot to obviously do something, or
Yes.
does the competition tell you what you're building to, or do you have to also come up with the idea?
Yeah, this year it's called Slapshot. So it's almost like shuffleboard, and you have to shoot 45 discs down a field to scoring areas. But all they get is a box with parts in it. That's it. Like, they don't even have directions for a model robot online right now. I mean, they might later in the season to help people who need the help. So they know the task they have to perform. They have to design a robot to perform that task. And what they'll do is we'll give them guidance, but they'll go online, they'll look at machines that can do that type of work. They'll look at other old robot designs and pick parts from some and parts from another. But basically it's I hate to use the Lego example, but you get a whole bunch of pieces and you can make whatever you want out of it. There's some rules, it's gotta be a certain size. You can only use a certain amount of motors, like 6 motors. So they do tie it down to certain things. But most of their designs are what they help brainstorm with us. Like, we'll guide them a little bit. But what's cool, by the end of the year, they could like take it apart and put it back together and just not even need you. So I mean, in the beginning, it's a lot of guidance for that. At the end, it's more coaching. You help them come up with strategies, and it's awesome to watch them go up to a team. Some might be better than them, some might not be as good as them, and they could take total control. Like, their leadership qualities have just formed, and it's just wonderful to watch.
And you don't get all day, right? You get a time period?
What's that?
You get a time period?
To build?
Yeah.
We could start now, and by basically this time next year will be the world event again.
Okay.
So like they're already asking about like, can we come in the summer and work? Can we do this? Can we do that? But it's great to see their motivation. Like I mean, any kid that wants to come in and do something educational in the summer on their own time is impressive in my mind.
Well, no, next year, if you could build a robot to press shirts, we'll have a conversation.
Yeah, that's exactly right, yeah.
Hey, I bet these are the kids that would do it.
But I do have one was a comment. I know, I appreciate, and I'm sure I speak for my colleagues, you all came to thank us. We want to thank you for making us proud, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Great job. We're posting that video because we're proud of you. Keep up the good work. Listen, have a safe, healthy rest of the school year. Work hard, and we look forward to you being back here again next year, or new students, additional students coming. But as Mr. Petrozzi said it so well, thank you for making the Niagara Falls School District look good. And thank you, parents, for trusting us with your kids. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. So, thank you very much. The rest of the meeting gets really exciting, or not.
Students and parents and staff, you're more than welcome to stay, or you're more than welcome to go. We'll give you a few minutes to make that decision. Please don't run into each other on the way out.
Zello. And we'll ask Mr. Ruffalo, Mr. Corella, and Mr. Ventry to present this. We purchased at the, and I'll let Rick talk a little bit about how we got this, but you know how strident I am about the PS2 teams. And I want you to see a product that we're using in our schools to help kids and parents understand the choosing of a future career and a product that we have. So Nick, go ahead. Or Rick, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Nick and Ed are going to provide the perspective of how this is working at Niagara Falls High School. I just wanted to preface the presentation by saying we're going to explain a piece of software that we're using which really unifies all of the programs that we are trying to expose our students to in relation to preparing themselves for future college and careers. It has multiple purposes and it can be used with multiple grade levels so that when we talk about getting kids ready for their future as early as elementary school, this software has a role to play there. It has a role to play in middle school, and it has a very important role to play in high school. Right now, we began using it in middle and high school in our inaugural year this year. So Nick and Ed are going to give you a little bit more detail about what is in the software and how we've used it.
This was on. Is it on? Zupas, yeah. For the Buffalo love, right? All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to come present about Zello. So Zello, as Mr. Corella said, it's a college and career readiness software program. There is 4 major components of Zello. There's the personalized career profiles, the career exploration, the course planner section, and then this year, at the end of this year, we're purchasing the work-based learning component of Zello. So again, I could read word for word here, but students learn about themselves. These are profiles where students, you take assessments every year, and this is basically your storyboard, okay? So your profile is your storyboard, and I'm gonna get into it in the next slide, but our students discover pathways that are right for them, whether it involves trades, college, university, entrepreneurship, or other types of training. And another feature that's very nice about this program is that students, parents, faculty, you have access to this program on your phone, laptop, or tablet. It's very sleek, it's very modern, and it's kids like it. So there's a 1-minute clip that kind of gives you an overview of what Zello is, and if Mr. Grenier, if you want to just play that, it's 1:37, I think.
An engaged student is a successful student. It's as simple as that. You've got some kids saying, I know where I'm going, just show me how to get there. And then you have students who don't think there's anywhere for them to go. You have to be able to support both of those students and everybody in between. Get them to take a real look at themselves and see what that means for their future. When you say to students, to any student, your life is not a one-size-fits-all thing. Let's take a look at who you are and how you learn and what interests you and figure out where that can take you. And let's map out how you can get there. You're giving these kids a real reason to care. They see just how much possibility is out there. That's when the switch flips and a student realizes they have a hand in their own destiny. And that changes how a student's going to view school and learning and their whole story. There is a difference in test scores, in attendance. It's this positive culture around academics. Proof you can point to and say, these kids have the confidence to tackle the next step, whatever that might be. What happens when students are investing in themselves, it's remarkable.
So like I said, there's 4 major components of Zello. So if you go to the next slide, YouTube's, that's not part of Zello. It might be. All right, so your personalized career profiles. So like we were saying, and like you witnessed in that video, is that each student has a career profile. And if Mr. Grenier, if you just want to click on that link, it'll pull up a student profile, a current student. I believe the student, it's at Gaskill, Nevaeh Harris is a current student at Gaskill. Now, why did I pick a grade 7 student? Because this is their first year of getting into Zello. So in grade 7, you take the assessments are heavy. So it's kind of your first year of kind of coming to see what you want to do. There's a lot of what type of learner you are. Maybe are you a hands-on person? So by having these profiles, this allows our students to create the storyboard. And as you can see here, this student, through the assessments, she wants to be a winemaker, a video game developer, and there's like, you love it, you like it, but these boards, they save, right? So it's kind of like the student version of LinkedIn, right? And if you're familiar with LinkedIn, this is our students have their own version of LinkedIn, and these portfolios that our students create, you're able to share your interests, skills, and abilities with everybody. And if you go back to the slide, the second bullet point I have here is that it allows staff to build a rapport with students, okay? Because as you grow, as you come through elementary school and get to middle school and high school, you usually have your academic profile, you have your behavior profile, and now, once you hit 7th grade, you're creating your career profile. So the reason why I say build rapport is because if you have a student in 8th grade and you're going to Niagara Falls High School next year, okay, a lot of times if you have you look at the academic profile, you see there might be some behavior issues, but now you could do some research on the student in August and say, okay, Joey Ruffalo, he's a student in 8th grade. He likes baseball, he likes hockey, he likes science. As a 9th grade teacher, you could build that relationship of something outside of school, because you already know that student a little bit if you do some research, because every teacher has access to all these profiles. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So the career exploration component. So I made this slide, so it basically is our timeline for the college and career readiness for our district. So in 7th grade, if you look at the top 7th grade, the implementation, pretty much 7th through 12, is with your counselors every year. In 7th grade, it's the Family and Consumer Science class. So last year in Family and Consumer Science class, when I was working with Mr. Corella over the summer, we worked with Mrs. Pederesi at LaSalle. And what we did is her class is now 10 weeks of financial management, career and financial literacy, and then the other 10 weeks is Zello. So they're exploring their learning styles, discover learning pathways, and research potential jobs and employers. So that's 7th grade. Then going into 8th grade, there's all the initiatives all the way through 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. But as you can see, every single year, it makes you save 3 careers. So basically from 7th grade to 12th grade, because a lot of times it changes, right? In 7th grade, you want to be a hockey player still. In 9th grade, you might want to be a civil engineer, and it just changes throughout. But this will also help us create our pathways when you go to the high school. So from 7th and 8th grade, then our counselors could look at this program and say, okay, we could divide our kids into the pathways that we created at the high school.
Well, I remember Russ asked a question a couple of years ago when we were talking about the trades. And he said, I remember, sometimes I listen, he said, how do you know you're going to have enough kids to do this and that? I mean, how will we know if we build these things? And this was the blueprint in order to say, wow, we have a lot of kids interested in this or that. And it will help us dictate what we're going to do going forward. So I do remember that question. It was particularly about the trades, but this will help us build what we're building in terms of the pathways for kids.
And it's a smooth trade. It helps us with the transition, right? Your 8th grade transition into high school, right? Mr. Laurie always talks about the handshake from middle prep school to high school, and this will definitely help us.
Rob?
All right, Ray, you can move on.
Just a quick question, Nick, before you, if you're going to touch on it at the end, let me know, but before I forget. So through this analysis, is it built into the program to be able to say, okay, that's great. That example, she wanted to be a film editor.
Right.
Do we know, and are we confident that we're setting up children to find the things that they feel fit them best, and that we can educate them in those areas so that we'll offer them programs?
On the previous slide?
Yeah, on the actual Zello page, right?
2.
No, not the slide, the other, back to the
And we can,
Zello
and you can, if I
go to the,
if
click
I,
on that link.
and if I took you guys off course, we can catch up at the end.
If you look at any of those, I think, is what, and then you can, okay, it's not in there. But if you go out into a different area, you can click and use it.
And it'll offer the classes that you're interested in. That's what you're asking. Right?
Yeah, so the students.
If you're a filmmaker, there's a digital photography class, right? That we offer at the high school that we would assign the student.
Right, so it wouldn't be a situation where a student would get excited about this, feel that they found their niche, and then were demotivated and disappointed that we didn't have offerings that would put them in a great position to succeed.
So we work with Zello basically, and we put all of our information, like our course plan, through the course plan, which we're going to get into, is we put all our programs that we offer into this program. Okay.
We're providing
Yes.
the children have
Software, yeah. It filters it. It's a filter, yeah.
And then in the more more traditional sense, one of the main users in the adult world for this is the high school counselor.
Yep.
So they can have much more information about the student that's in front of them, that they're counseling, that they're talking to about course selection by looking at what's stored here. And then the connections are more at their fingertips.
Sure. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yep. Yeah. She should have taken it in her family consumer science class with Mrs. Perez. So she should have a profile.
They're adding that this summer.
This was like a pilot this year. Yeah.
No,
But
it's
our
my-
7th grade crew is like our first true pilot starting in 7th grade, because this year was a different year, because you could only add so much, right? Really, it's got to, if we started it in 7th grade, and then our 7th graders would already have their profiles, and then you could start the next year in 8th, but we decided that it was such a good program, we wanted everybody to have a taste of it, I guess. So everybody in every grade level, so we, like 12th graders, we got them a taste, like an appetizer of Zello, but they didn't get the full, component. Like 7th grade is a big year, right? Because that's the biggest year where you take the most assessments. And then 8th, 9th, and 10th, we integrated it into the I believe the business CFM class. Like in 9th grade, when they come into Niagara Falls High School, they'll start taking assessments in CFM 1. They'll take it in CFM 2. They'll take, I believe, the English teachers in 12th grade with resume building. So like I said, this is like it's a lot. I could talk about it for an hour right now about what it does. But overall, once you're a senior, it's a click of a button when you go to apply for a college or a job, right? You could share your whole portfolio with that college, right? So then everything is there, your resume, your transcript.
We're not there yet, but
we're
going
yeah.
But I think it's important that we get to the level where, pick on his daughter, this can be shared with Mr. and Mrs. Bilson, so that they know what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, personality, and then the course planner. So this is what Mr. Carrillo was talking about. So course planner is really done with the school council.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Do we have enough counselors to go through every one of these profiles for all the students in the district? The counselor's going to have enough time to go through every one of these profiles for every student and put everything together for them.
Yeah, each counselor has their caseload of students, and they meet with them.
Yeah, I'm saying, but do we have enough counselors to perform this function?
Yes.
Okay.
In the past, they used to keep everything on paper in large binders, many large binders. So now, this is our attempt to digitize all of it to make it faster so that there's more time for them to talk to students as opposed to thumbing through, just paper, trying to get a good idea of what their likes are and what the courses are that they should pursue.
Yes, they're walking into the counselor with that information. It's
Right.
all done right there. Whereas before, they'd have to ask the questions when they sit down. So it does save a lot of time, actually, that way.
Good questions. You want to go back up to where you're at, Ray?
So the course planner, like we were saying, the school counselor, students build course plans that meet both diploma and specialization requirements all in one place. And to answer, like Mr. Bilson's question is, students will be able to, students and parents will be able to see their progress toward their child's graduation whenever they want, right? Like Mr. Corella said before, you had to call the school, talk to the counselor, they pulled the binder open, all right, go to the kids, and then they tell you how many credits. Now it's just going to be, eventually, hopefully at the end of this year, parent will be able to log in, okay, my son has 10 credits, okay, right now. And it'll show his coursework right here. So you can see right here, Ray, if you just click on the course planner, it'll show you, like, this is a current student, Vincent Lodovico at Niagara Falls High School. So he's
He's in 9th, so he selected his 10th grade classes already.
Right, so he's a 9th grader. It shows him all the classes that he's taken in 9th grade, okay? And then this is his coursework for next year. So by the end, like we said, when you're a parent, you'll be able to log into this and see your child's courses. And then it'll also show you, grade 11 and grade 12 and how many credits they have and how many credits they need to graduate. And so this, like I said, it's real time.
If you go to print rate on the upper right-hand corner.
Right there, yeah.
It gives a nice summary that can be sent home to parents right now. Again, that's just paper, but we hope to have parent access. Do colleges have access to this? Is it compatible so if the child applies to that university?
Yeah.
That university has that not yet, but that's the long range plan is to get not just the transcripts in there, but also scholarships as well.
Yep.
Opportunities.
And you just, like I said, it's a click.
I would say the year after next. Yeah, it won't be this year, but I believe by this year's 10th graders, we should have that in place.
Good. Go ahead.
Okay. So course planning, we just, the next slide. So this is going to be new going into 22-23. We just purchased this. This is the work-based learning component. So this year, obviously, you've heard a lot about our PS2 team at Niagara Falls High School and all the pathways. So what happens is our students go outside for internships, and this will help us track all those hours. So what I wrote on my notes here is that, so for Mr. Laurie always talks about when we graduate from high school, you want to receive a diploma plus, a certificate. So our CDOS, which stands for Career Development and Occupational Studies, that is you need to have 214 hours and 54 out of the 214 hours, 54 need to be work-based learning hours. Now, at the high school, the way we designed the master schedule this year is that when you take CFM1 in 9th grade and CFM2, you receive, so in 9th grade you'll get 90 hours automatically, and then 10th grade automatically you get another 90 hours. And the only way to get the CDOS credit, it's got to be taught by a CTE teacher, which is a business teacher. So Mr. Bash, your brother's a teacher at the high school teaching CFM. So his students will receive 90 hours, as long as they pass. If they pass the course, they'll get 90 hours automatic. If they have to take it again in 10th grade, you get another 90 hours. So right now, after 10th grade, starting with our 9th graders this year, our current 9th graders, after 10th grade, they'll have 180 hours towards a CDOS certificate without even doing an internship yet. So then that brings in the idea of we pushed all of our classes down where, we're opening up our kids' schedules in 11th and 12th grade so they could do internship hours. Okay, so.
Can you run a query that says how many are interested in labor or trade skills? I'm asking for Mr. Pareto. So we could see those with the aptitude for labor and trades.
Right.
And that way, Mr. Dahl is not running through the high school saying, you want to do it? 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 No, let's run a query of all those kids with a proclivity and a proficiency maybe in labor and trades. Let's get them in. Let's bring our trades people in and say, here are the interests. What do you have? And it matches based on a paperless system.
Right.
Speaking of pathways, for kids that maybe don't want to go into the trades or don't have those that skill set, from a kind of off topic but on topic, from a scholarship perspective, this thing is super interesting. So I'm not quite sure what we do currently to help assist our students from a scholarship perspective, like preparing, which ones would be a best fit for you. Because this seems like a nice CRM system that we probably have a license for and can build out whatever we want to build. Is there any opportunity to, based on what excites them, what their skill set is, what their niche is, to have some kind of like scholarship calculator in there that could determine by 10th grade, here are the available scholarships for what you're interested in and could kind of help guide them down the path of making sure that they're taking all the steps necessary to achieve those?
I think that.
No, it's an interesting suggestion. Have we done that at this point? No, but that's, you're asking what we.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a review meeting at the end of the year that we could bring something up.
There's a $2,000 Mark Cerrone scholarship at the foundation dinner. They're looking for people who are interested in, I don't know, engineering or something.
Right.
You could lay those I think what you're saying.
Yeah.
You could lay those scholarship activities on top of that
Based on
profile.
your profile.
Now go
these
fill
are
it out.
This is
Yeah,
what you qualify.
these are scholarships, and then here are best practices, necessary steps, deadlines, stuff like that. I think that might be something interesting.
Yeah,
so-
it's a great idea.
So I guess basically, like our partners, I just put a couple on there.
Oh, of course, Memorial Hospital's on there. Of course.
But if you so our partners will have profiles on the work. So basically, like I said, you have your work, you have your profile, you'll be able to explore onto your screen. Now, our partners will have, like, for example, if you're in the medical field, I'll use the hospital, right? The hospital profile will be on our Zello board, okay? They could click on the hospital and it'll show all the internships that are offered, okay? Now, if you're interested, or in a category, yeah. Then you just click on it, and you'll see the date when it's going. Instead of, like you said, Mr. Dahl right now is running around the high school right now saying, "All right, he's posting it on Teams, right?" We are doing it electronically, but it's just a one-stop shop.
So this component is new next year. We don't have this yet.
Right.
We're just going to get started in the summer.
No, it's a good evolution. It's a good evolution. My other statement that I'd like to see or direct is pushing this down. Can it be pushed down to 4th grade?
It does have a component to.
It could be, yes. Or at least to maybe 6th.
Okay, because my opinion is kids need to start looking at what their opportunities that early. And putting it, you've heard me say this ad nauseum, schema, thinking, and then bringing those resources into Avid to show those students that you could be a fireman, you could be a policeman, you could be a whatever.
What's the, in your opinion, as educators on the front line, what is the grade where it's the point of no return? Is there a grade where there's a point where, you know what, we've lost the opportunity, similar to what you just talked about, right? Is it going back to 4th grade? Is it 3rd grade? Is 7th grade the right number?
I honestly just 11 to 12 for this current year, 11 to 12. I think right now our 10th graders will be in good shape. You're talking about for this program, right? Yeah. Zello, yeah. 10th graders, by the time they're in 12th grade, they're going to get some really nice opportunities. So we're going to be in a good spot. Our 9th graders, excellent. As Mr. Ruffalo said, obviously ideally starting in 7th, even 6th grade, but 10th, in my opinion, I think our 10th graders are going to see some really good benefits out of this.
It was interesting. I asked Lucas Chamberlain, I said, you know what you want to do? He's like, I'm not sure if I want to do this or not. I don't know if I want to do this. So it would be interesting to see his profile.
Right.
Just to see, because he may not want to stay in this robotics engineering thing. He's good at it, but it may not be what he's destined for.
And it takes them to links on the web where they can research
Right.
careers, right? And research colleges that are his college.
In your zip code. So it shows your job, it shows you outside, but you can put your zip code in, and say if you wanted to be a civil engineer, you put your zip code in, it'll show you all the places where you can get a job and your average salary, based on that zip code. Now, obviously in Manhattan, it's gonna be a bigger salary, but it shows the kids at a young age, right? And I think it exposes them. And the whole idea of this is obviously for increase student engagement, right? That's the key to keep our kids in school and get the graduation up, because they have to be engaged and want to be there.
Good. Well, good. Anything else on this, Ray?
Yeah.
I want the board to be aware of this tool that we really believe in, and we're going all in on Zello. This was I don't like to say pilot year, but this was an introductory year. But we're going all in on this Zello, and we're going to ride this. It may be as early as 6th grade. And I think a good point was made about parent sharing. There's a parent portal for grades. We need a parent portal for this too.
Yeah.
And I like it, and I know the counselors like it, teachers. Reflections, Ed, from the high school?
Yeah, of course, with anything new, there's some, training time and adjusting time, but the counselors that actually went through the whole course selection process, there was a lot of positive feedback. I spoke to everyone individually. The whole process in general is a little bit overwhelming for some. We have some new counselors, but some of the new ones were appreciative of it because it saved them, like I said, saved them some time in the conversation. They had the information about the students, and then it was able to spark that conversation about what courses they'd like to take for next year. It made it a little bit more, a little simpler in that regard. As far as the more veteran counselors, I spoke to some of them, and a couple of them said, yeah, this is great. If you're just put in the course code of what the students want to take, easier with what we had before. But this is the conversation between the counselor and the student. It really did spark that conversation and helped select courses.
How many competitors are in Zello space? Like, were there other options to choose from?
Nick did the research. I'll let him answer that question.
There was a couple programs around here. There was another program called Naviance.
Oh, Naviance.
But a lot of districts had Naviance. It's an older program. Zello was called Career Cruising before. And I mean, last year, actually, Mr. Laurie and I sat in the conversation. It was right before COVID, or it might have been that October, where we talked. He was a big Leafs guy, Jeff Harris. He was the owner of the company. We sat on a Zoom call. It's based out of Toronto. The state of Wisconsin now, the whole state uses it. And we were one of the first in New York, but we did research out to other schools. Yeah, I called out other school districts to see how they liked it, and they do like it. And the work-based learning component for sure. I reached out to a school in Colorado, and they really like it. So
I'll tell you, you guys have presented a lot of things. This is for me, one of the most interesting ones that you've done. I think this has a lot of opportunity.
Well,
I think it's cool.
I hope you can see, thank you, Mr. Bilson. I hope you can see how we're trying to tie this all together, this pathways thing, and the careers, and starting younger. So to give you a big picture of how we're trying to build this whole seamless process through, and to do it efficiently for counselors so they can target their conversations, and then build the programming around the student interest, which in turn gives them a reason to come to school, a ticket at the end, a warm handoff somewhere, and it keeps kids engaged. This is a tool for engagement as much as anything else.
And it's clean. It's very kids tech savvy, right? So it's clean. It's what they want. It's what kids use. Like it's kind of has like a social media feel to it, I guess. Like I said, it's a student version of LinkedIn. So
thank you, guys.
Yep.
Thanks. We have two agendas thank you, very good job. You present well in a tie, Ed. You do, with a tie you present very well. We have two meetings. Judy, why don't you take the first one? We'll do this. Judy will take this. I will, members of the board, I will say this during my comments, but I'd like Judy to take this because she did another absolutely stellar job on the election. I don't think you missed a beat.
Thank you very much.
Stellar.
All righty. Your 7 o'clock meeting.
8 o'clock.
Oh, I thought you said you wanted
No,
to
let's do the 8 o'clock first.
You want to do the 8 o'clock?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, that's pretty simple. Your 8 o'clock meeting will have your roll call. The purpose of the meeting, I have the tabulation results for you. When Mr. Laurie's ready, I'll distribute those. We recanvassed the votes today, so you will be officially accepting and certifying them. That will be followed by the swearing in of Mr. Capizzi, who begins the remainder of the former term held by Dr. Barstas begins tonight. And then we adjourn.
So that's the 8 o'clock meeting.
Judy, quick question. Is there any comment period on that agenda?
There is not a comment period on the statutory meeting.
Thank you, ma'am.
There is, of course, at the 7 o'clock.
Appreciate that.
Judy, one last question, if I may. Were there any major changes from last evening?
In terms of recanvassing
Yes.
the vote?
Yeah.
No. What we saw and on the machines and recanvassed here with our own workers were exactly 2 votes off from what the Board of Elections canvassed when they read the memory cards today. Those were 1 fewer vote for one candidate, 1 additional vote for another, neither of which would have changed the final result of the vote.
So, with the exception of 2, that what you saw on your screen, of course, was unofficial, but it was only off by 2, which is a really good statement.
Absolutely.
Really good statement. Thank you to you and your deputy, Maria Massaro, was deputized last night. She didn't have much of a ceremony, Judy. Ray, if you could pull up the 7 o'clock meeting, we'll go through that. Thank you, Ray. The topics are the topics. We start the normal way. Oral and written communications, Mr. Petrosi handles that. Budget transfer 10, Becky and Julie. No bids this meeting. I do know next month, June, just as a foreshadowing, Becky and I met with Niagara Falls Coach Lines. First Student, and we will have the First Student bid on there. Becky did one terrific job de-scoping that bid, and we think we found a few points or a few dollars to save, but we're still working on it. So she did an excellent job in our meeting with First Student today, and she left them with some questions to justify their number, and I think we're going to shave a few dollars off. Not as many as I'd like, but a few dollars. There is classified and certificateds, Committee on Special Ed, 4 short-term contracts. None of those have changed. They're the same ones that we had with you 2 weeks ago or so. It's a Head Start pedagogy one, a teacher center course, a information to avoid an impartial special ed hearing is number 3, and number 4 is somebody who helps us and helps Mr. Cunningham with truancy and laptop collection. You've got your normal Head Start reports. Miss Haley O'Stewart was here. There are 2 acceptance of funds. The Head Start the cost of living COLA, which was for $49,000, and then the $44,000 ARP funds. Revised Head Start funding that Richard has to do every month now. Erie 1 is for high-speed printers. Ray is putting those out. That's for new printers, Ray? We talked about that. Earl talked to you about pesticides. Let me just give you a little, you know, the pesticides is for spraying the fields. Just a little aside that I thought was cool. Earl, we bid out a different product. That was for microphone.
We have the flea and tick treatment for the athletic fields coming May 27th, but we also put a quote to the street for our routine exterminating service every year, and they came with a great new service that we may utilize from time to time.
Yep. Yeah, it's called the bed bug service. Unfortunately, we get bed bugs. We do. I'm sorry. We get them. And Ehrlich, a company some people may know, came in as the lowest apparent bidder there for that.
Yes, sir.
And listen to this. Ehrlich has a Beverly, the bed bug sniffing beagle. So we're going to employ a beagle from Ehrlich, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's not on here tonight, but I wanted you to know we're going with a different, as opposed to whom?
Orkin.
We're not using Orkin, we're going to Ehrlich.
Mark, question, do we have to pay the hospitalization on the dog?
Of course we do, Russ, and FICA. But the dog is named Beverly, the bed bug sniffing beagle.
I dubbed her Beverly the bedbug busting beagle in true Irv Weinstein fashion if he was to announce her on the evening news. Everybody too young for that joke?
It just wasn't funny. Not that we're too young or too old, it just wasn't funny.
Stick to your job, Earl.
The 605, this is just our dues to the small cities. This has nothing to do with payments to anybody. We joined Small Cities an Association. You know all about that. It's the Maisto case. It's $10,800. I think if we pay before July 1st, Becky, we save $200 or $300. Yeah. So that's why we're putting that on there. This is the seeker for the EV charging stations. And there's the approval of your knowledge that we're going forward with those. A lot of work to do. Danforth was the freezer. At Abbott, both the final payment and retainage. Ferguson was the cameras, and UNS is cameras that were purchased. No policies. There's your public comment on non-related topics. I have a lengthy report. Your comments. June 9th is your next meeting after tonight. On June 9th, We have a number of small capital projects, some small, some not so small, but I want to go through each one of those with you. This isn't a big project. Many of these projects are going to be paid for either through the general fund budget, i.e. the roof and fire suppression at CEC, charging stations, some other things. And we're going to start dipping into the ARP money for chiller replacement at the high school. So I want to start listing for you all a new set of projects that we're doing. The Seal of Biliteracy, you remember that group? There's 10 students who are competing on the 24th for their Seal of Biliteracy. Remember, you're proficient in 2 languages. They've been to the board before, if you recall. This year's number is 10, Rick, is that right? 10. Yeah, it was about that same number. It was close. I can't remember, but it was close. We're trying to jump it up a little bit. The really cool number that you're going to see at graduation is the Seal of Civic Readiness. It's another seal. How many do you have in that group, Rick? That's a different seal, Mr. Bass. That's that they've done civic projects. And we were one of the 113 districts to pilot it. So we're going to signify those students who got the Seal of Civic Readiness by doing this. You may hear this in the community. How come they're not teaching and doing civics anymore? Well, we are. We have this, and in addition to doing it, you can get a cord and a citation on your diploma that you've got the Seal of Civic Readiness, which is really important to college applications or to the job. So that's coming up. Cynthia and team will be here for graduation update, and there's no voting that night. On the 23rd, it's one of the most exciting things to ever happen. We go through all those reorganization topics. You remember those, Judy? Judy is really excited about that. Just as a side note, that reorg meeting is scheduled for July 7th, correct? And we have to have another public hearing on the American Rescue Funds. That's our ARP funding. Becky has been, and Julie have been close to the regs on that. We want you to see how much we've spent in ARP, what we have left, and what we're proposing to spend next year. So you'll get an update on our ARP funds. We've been talking about that for the last couple of weeks. And also the public can weigh in and come to the microphone and say, why this, why not? And then you'll have your regular voting. At 7 o'clock, there will be a golden apple presented to someone who has helped the district greatly with one of our programs. And this is the night we present 2 minority students who are going into teaching. And I will have their names for you at the next meeting, a $2,000 scholarship each, and hope that they come back and teach for us. 2 of our fine Niagara Falls High School graduates who are minorities, to encourage them to come back into teaching. That's the agenda for the 23rd, and then the next meeting is July 7th. That is the organization meeting, and we'll get into that in June. Maria, you have personnel?
Just to mention, Maria's coming up. Colleagues, I talked to Mark, would like to have a retreat this year. Would you prefer on a Thursday night? We'll give you 3 or 4 dates, see who would get the most, or would you like another night? Okay, then we might as well stick to Thursdays, I would think, Mark. It's just a retreat is a non-business meeting. Just, we'll ask for topics, just a chance to take a break. You know, could be board relationships, anything like that.
Right. We've done it off-site in the past. It is not you will not see work topics. That's not a meeting. We can talk about any number of topics, and we will. And I know we have a vendor who's willing to sponsor it and pay or bring anybody in. Clark Patterson Lee is willing to host it anywhere you want it in the community. It's just a way to get the board together for a night and do some open discussion. Yes, if it's Clark Patterson Lee, yes. Maria, you have personnel?
I do. You all should have received your report with the asterisks on it. And I guess if you have any questions, we received a number of retirements, since your last meeting. You'll see those on the first page. Another resignation came in. We have 2 60-day conversions that came in, and the per diem work there is the SEP creations for all the different schools. You see that takes you all the way through page 6 of 12, and then some additional per diem work, and then we move into the Schedule B work, the Schedule C work, and the Schedules D, E, F, and G. We continue to receive information on Schedules D, E, F, and G from the schools, so you will see a couple more names come to you in the next meeting, and some changes in some time because they went to 47 minutes from 30 minutes. So that is the certificated report. Any questions about that?
There's no addendum, correct?
No, not this evening.
Thank you.
Nope. Moving on to the classified report, we had a resignation and a termination since we last spoke. And then as you move through that report, excuse me, my fingers are not working, but as you move through that report, you see we have some appointments for you. We're appointing in the area of general labor specialist, in the area of cleaner. We have a provisional appointment for an account clerk in the payroll office, some temporary appointments, a couple of voluntary transfers. These are folks who are moving around because they've requested to be moved, leaves of absence, change of status from probationary to permanent, and then some additional hours for folks working on spring sports and the Indian education program. Anybody have any questions? Thank you.
While Maria is up there, I want to give you an update because we have just a few seconds, and you could probably still have 5 minutes to stretch if you'd like, Mr. Petrosi. I want to update you on where we are with staffing for next year. Again, Maria is ahead of schedule. We believe that, I believe that she has, there's a very limited involuntary transfer list, meaning somebody's getting bumped out of a classroom. It may only be one person.
It's one person.
One person.
Well, actually, I'm sorry, Mr. Lloyd, one general ed teacher and one special ed teacher.
2 people, so that's done. We know how many 3rd grade classes we need, 4th grade classes, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th. We know all of that. That's all done. Maria is now going to present to me the fill-ins, the backfills of regular subs and probationary teachers. And I am thinking that in June, in the first week of June, Maria is going to begin calling these individuals. Most of them have currently worked for us in some capacity, or we've interviewed and looked at some people who are coming from outside. I really feel at that June meeting there will be a very thick personnel packet. And by the June 23rd meeting, I think 85 to 90% of staffing for September will be done. What do you think?
I totally agree.
I would say as close to 90% of the staffing will be done for September. Now, that helps us in a lot of ways. People know where they're going to be. People will know far before they leave for school. They can have a peace of mind. They don't have to apply for unemployment. We will have Rick have the ability to train them or work with them in the summer. There always will be openings that will pop up. We'll finish maybe another 5 to 8% on your July 7th meeting, and then there's going to be about 2% that we'll just need to get through the summer. People will leave, move, and we'll have that for the August 20 whatever meeting in August. So I want to tell you that by the June 23rd meeting, you're going to see a thick package of appointments, and we should have 90% of the staffing done for next year by the time everybody leaves, which is really yeoman's work, if there's a word. And we'll present that to you on hopefully as much as we have on June 9th, so you can see it on the 9th, and then ask questions, and then for formal vote on the 23rd. There will be a few holes, but we feel really confident that we're going to be able to fill all those positions that early. And we want to. We want to tell people, you have a job with us. You're good. We want to keep you. We don't want you looking anywhere else. They want to be here. We'll tell them. I think it's an important thing and an important step. Comments?
No, I completely agree. I spoke to a couple of young teachers today, have a couple of interviews set up for next week, making some recommendations to you. So I think we're well on. I know that Rick today has been speaking with people who want to be teachers on special assignment.
Right.
We're going to be holding our elections for our elected deans on June 1st. So it really is a big snowball through to July now.
But we will have it filled. And of course, over the summer, unfortunately, someone moves. Fortunately, someone gets pregnant, that's great. Fortunately, unfortunately, somebody may get ill. So we'll have those throughout the summer, but I think we'll be wrapped up to 98% by July 7th and 90% by June 23rd. Yeah.
What about the educational staff, instructional staff? You know, like a kitchen, are we up to full strength in that area or not?
We are not at full strength in the cafeteria. We are pretty good. We're getting there. We're not at full strength yet in Earl's department, but we're getting close to getting to capacity there.
In maintenance.
Yeah.
We're getting close. We're adding some cleaners. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Cafeteria, no.
Cafeteria, no. We're not there in.
Well, the reason why I ask, because I noticed the pay rate on that stuff, and I mean, there's a big disparity between what we're paying and what they can get out in.
Well, Mr. Velardo, I don't know if we rehearsed this or not, but I'm going to ask
Did
for.
we? No, we're on the same wavelength, I guess. Because
We didn't rehearse it.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask for an executive session, Mr. Velardo and board members, to speak about a contract negotiation under the Taylor law, and just for that express purpose of what you're thinking.
Because, I mean, that pay is not.
No, it's not.
Especially acceptable. You can go to McDonald's and make.
And I don't want to get into too much of the
$5,000
contract talk, but it's not just that department.
Okay.
There are other departments within the school setting that we have to look at, and I have a proposal for you in executive session. Again, it's in executive session, listeners and audience, because it's part of a contract negotiation that we're going back and forth with on the CSEA. I don't mind saying that. But that's what I plan to talk to you about in one of the two executive session items. And we happen to agree with you.
Maria.
All rise? No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I got thrown off of where I was, sorry.
Maria, first of all, always a great job with this. Quick question and possible recommendation. Could you, going forward, would you be so kind as to entertain adding a total at the end of each of these remunerations? So there's a lot of these at the end of the year. Could you add a total to the bottom of what the total amount is? I think if my fellow board members wouldn't mind, I think it'd be nice to kind of see what the total is. The question I have for, as an example, the lunch duties, do those have to be employees of the school district in order to get paid for the lunch duty?
Yes.
Okay.
That's contractual. Those rates that you see there are contractual in the Niagara Falls teachers.
Thank you.
Just to take off a little bit more on your question, and Maria, of course, knows it well, but we'll often get this question about coaches, athletic coaches. We have to contractually ask that bargaining unit first. And then I believe our agreement is we'll ask other bargaining units before we go to the street.
For coaching.
For athletic coaches, Rob, I think you know where I mean there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering, there's just so many, and I just wanted to, we have a lot of conversations about people that are kind enough to help, but I was just wondering for those positions that are being compensated, do they have to be a city school district employee?
Yes. There's a posting that Maria crafts with the principal to put out in each school, and they post it, and then they recommend to Maria. Maria checks it out to make sure they meet the criteria, and then she runs it by me. I trust her. She puts it on the board report.
So what you're saying is we pay Pareto for that kind of performance for football?
No,
he's not.
Mr. Bilson.
Yeah, no, I should say he's paying us back for that type of performance, right?
Until he can craft at least a 500 record, we don't even consider it.
Mark, I have, Maria, too, I have another question. I know that there's a lot of special duties and different functions that teachers are getting compensated for. Do you check and make sure there's no conflict between hours? Like somebody with an after-school hour and then coaching, it doesn't conflict, and somebody's taking off earlier. You know what I'm talking about.
They do, and not for coaching, Mr. Velardo, but if you put in a Schedule B for a club, we also have to have a list of the names of the kids who attended by the day. They sign in, sign out, and the kids sign the paper. Even as young as, I think we get sheets for the first, second, and third. We get first graders writing, I look at them, sometimes you can't make out their names, but the first graders sign in on a sheet that goes behind the payroll stub. That was a learning from an audit a long time ago. Yeah, so.
You mentioned the lower grades. How about the high school? How are we looking at that?
Very good. I think by the 23rd, I think every position will be filled. Do you, Maria? I think we have a name for every hole, if that's what you're asking. Except where?
Second language.
Pardon me?
Second language.
Second language. Spanish. Two, Mr. Consemi, two I worry about, and Maria does the work, I just worry. Second language, Spanish, you might see a hole, and possibly special education.
Secondary, special.
Secondary. Elementary, we're solid. A Spanish teacher and a secondary special ed teacher. I think we'll be open on June 23rd. 2, maybe 3. Total. We'll show you the whole chart where we have blanks left. I'm confident it's going to be 2 or 3. Tell me if I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
Okay.
I'm very confident that you're correct.
That's how few we're going to have. And we'll try and get those filled by the 7th of July. If we don't, we'll bring them to you in August. It'll give Maria a little time over the summer. I think she's trying to tell me she's worried about a Spanish teacher. I think that's what the message she's trying to give me.
Any other questions? Okay. Take 5. I see everyone saying yes. Take 5. 5 after 7, we'll start. Okay, folks, welcome everybody. Please stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
And we'll have a prayer by Mrs. Dunn, please.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for sparing our lives to see this day, for we know there are many who did not. We ask, Father, that you hear our prayer and see our hearts as we pour out our condolences to the families who lost loved ones in the tragic act of violence in Buffalo. Comfort and restore peace upon them all. We ask, Father, that you speak to the hearts and minds of those who choose hatred over love and protect our country from these tragedies, for we know you are in control of every situation. We are grateful for all the blessings now and more that you bestow upon us. Keep this board together strong as we say thank you. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
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 Thank you, Clara, very much. Very nice. Okay, Judy, please call the roll.
Mr. Bass.
Present.
Mr. Wilson. Mr. Consemi. Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Cadella.
I think, Mr. Cadell, is he virtual? Not yet, so we'll show him.
Mr. Pareto.
Yes.
Mr. Velardo. Mr. Petrosi.
Here.
All present.
And Ray, when Mr. Cadella comes on, let us know so we could show him present. Okay, letters of communication. I do have, excuse me, gentlemen. Thank you. I have 2 letters of communication. One is from Gary and Kate Myers, a thank you. And I have a thank you for the instruments at LaSalle Prep School from Nicole Bilson. Relation to you? Is your wife? I didn't know. Very nice. Okay, saying that, I have 2 speakers. Are the agenda items or non-agenda items, ladies? Non, and Gloria, non? Non, okay, so we'll take those at the end of the meeting. We'll move through this smartly. We have 2 meetings tonight. Okay, we'll start with recommended actions from the superintendent of schools. 4.01, 4.02, and 01 is the minutes, and second is budget transfer number 10. Motion, please. Mr. Consemi and Mr. Velardo. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay. 4.04 and 4.05 to Treasurer's Report and the Budget Status Report are received and filed. And we have 4.06 Personnel Report certificated. Mr. Consemi on the motion. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a second. Second by Mr. Velardo. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. And Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. We will go on to 4.08 and 4.09. These are the reports from special ed and preschool special ed. Thank you,
Excuse
Mr. I'm sorry.
Did you move the classified, sir?
Okay, I'll go back to it. I missed it. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the committees for special ed. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. 4.07 personnel report classified. Do we have a motion, please? Mr. Pareto, second by Mr. Consemi. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have some short-term contracts. One is Niagara University, the Head Start practice-based coaching. Christian LeBrew, No Limits Learning, LLC, TRC online courses. Emily Schutren, Western New York Dyslexia Specialists, and Lomax Barnes Church of God Male Mentoring. We have a motion on those 4, please. Moved by Mr. Velardo, second by Mr. Bilson. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you. 4.11, Head Start and Early Head Start reports. Thank you, Mr. Bilson. Second by Mr. Pareto. Any questions? Call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Moving on to new business, we'll take 601 to 603 together. 01 is the acceptance of funds for Head Start, Early Head Start, cost of living adjustment. 02 is the acceptance of funds for the federal ARP money. And number 603 is accepting of revised funding, Head Start and Early Head Start. Mr. Bilson, was that? And I got Mr. Bass on the other side. Thank you. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. 6.04, approval of agreement with Erie One BOCES to furnish our high-speed network printer. Mr. Consemi on the motion.
Second.
Mr. Mr. Pareto on the second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Appreciate it. 6.05 is the approval of use of pesticide on the grounds of Niagara Falls High School for tick control.
Move.
We got to get a motion first. A second motion by Mr. Pareto. Second, please. Second, Mr. Bass. Okay, question, please.
Earl, we obviously do our due diligence when it comes to the safety of the pesticides that we use on the grounds, right? Because I'm assuming we're moving from a new vendor, to a new vendor. The chemicals are safe for the kids and.
That's correct. This portion is not a new vendor. This was contracted prior to the new exterminating bid. So this is True Green Kimlawn doing this. They have been doing it for us for, I believe, about 7 years now.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm good, thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 6.06 are our dues to the New York State Association of Small City Schools. Mr. Consemi. Mr. Velardo waived. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi?
Mr. Consemi.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. 607, 608, 607 is the seeker for the review for the EV charging stations, and 608 is the installation of the charging stations. That way Mr. Bilson can come to his meetings on time. Motion, please.
Move it.
We have a motion by Mr. Bass. Second by Clara Dunn. Question by Tony Pareto.
So who's going to be doing this work on these?
To be determined, right?
So it has to be a pre-approved vendor to qualify for for the National Grid Incentive Program. Right. I know I can list a couple that I know that are on the list: yep. CIR, Ferguson, Fry Electric, and I'm trying to think of a fourth, but there's numerous ones that are pre-approved. Ours, because we're a municipality, will have to pay prevailing wage, and typically what I would like to see in the front end is probably not a recast, but the same PLA agreement that we did for our other capital projects.
That'll have to be renegotiated because I think ours expires, but we'll look for a PLA and go off the list of 31, and there are 4 locals: Ferguson, CIR, Fry, did you say?
Yeah.
And I can't think of, there's another local one. I don't think they're on there, Mr. Velardo.
I don't remember seeing them on there.
No,
Mr.
we
Velardo.
looked for the local ones, you know. Eminem, no. He's busy with a couple of his rap concerts. Thanks, Earl. Bass, not Smeal. Thank you, Mr. Bass.
Any other questions on the EV stations?
No. Not there yet. This just allows us to start the work, proceeding with all the information. This is just to start. Got to bid it, PLA it, select it. We got to bring all that back to you. Yes, this is just to give us approval to start. They won't even entertain a conversation unless you have a resolution that I spoke to you about this. And that's all this is telling the companies, that I spoke to the board in public that we're moving forward with this. And if you don't like where we're going, you can tell us to stop.
My only comment on this whole thing is, I don't want to give this away for anything to anybody. If we're putting it in, there has to be a fee involved in it.
I don't disagree with you.
To support it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. We're not there yet.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to, beforehand. That's all.
Question mark for me, if this comes into an outrageous price, we do not have to approve it, right?
Exactly.
We have the final approval on it.
Exactly.
Still coming.
Yep, still to come. All you're allowing us to do is to proceed with investigation. That's all you're allowing us to do.
Well, I know there's a lot of rebates out there, so
Yep.
the sooner the better.
I think the sooner the better, too.
Yep.
I don't want to get caught behind the 8 ball on
No,
this.
the money will run out and that'll be the end of it.
I want to get ahead of this.
I know we're trying to fly along here.
Rob
so
will
I-
be stranded somewhere.
What
Yeah.
are we looking for, like 2 stations, 3 stations?
Mr. Laurie, quick question for you. So Nick's commentary, fair commentary, but there are many businesses that have EV charging stations that are free to the public. So as a business person, I must think that they're not giving that electric away for free, I would assume. So as we go through this process, I think maybe more of an Earl, you could help too, but maybe some more education on if it doesn't cost us anything, you know, maybe there's conversations about staff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it doesn't cost anything, but if we're using taxpayer dollars to put this infrastructure in, I can't see giving it away because it's just not right.
And to Mr. Pareto's question, locations are Niagara Falls High School and central office currently. That could change too, but currently our thought is around this building and at Niagara Falls High School, close to the thruway, more cars. But if you don't like, there's no commitment you're making to that right now. That's just our preliminary conversation of the locations.
Just piggyback on what Mr. Velardo said, as you're studying this, could you, 2 questions, what does it cost to charge a vehicle, just a number, and also, does it affect the demand factor?
I didn't hear the second.
Does it affect the demand multiplier?
Okay.
Okay, because to me, electric might be free, but if it affects, electric might be a minimal cost, but if it affects the demand multiplier, that's not good.
What does that mean? Can you educate us on that?
The demand multiplier is, when you're commercial electric, you not only pay per kilowatt hour for delivery, the more electric you need, you pay to keep, for lack of a better term, that much electric capacity in the pipeline.
And by providing these chargers, we could potentially be increasing our cost.
What would do, it could increase our demand factor, which means you pay more for all the electric that you use. Now, it may not, I don't know that, but Earl will check it out. And these are questions that'll come up, so you might as well know them.
Where are you coming from?
Mark, I mean, I think when we had the stadium, it cost us so much money to put the lights on, and every time you used it, it was cheaper.
It was
The
wheeling
first time-
charges.
The first time, it was like astronomical.
$26,000.
It was $500 the first time and
Yeah.
$75 after
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
What was it, 700, 800 to flip that thing on, or?
What was the stadium, Sale Magley? These are really old numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, very old numbers. And what you're discussing is called ratcheting demand. So if at Sale Magley, for example, the city turns the lights on once, we did it back when we owned it, it was $2,700
$2,600, yep.
in ratcheting demand.
Yep.
Okay, not consuming 1 kilowatt hour of energy. That's just the kilowatt of the demand. Okay, that's what we would be charged. So what happens is, if you have 2 football games, you spread that cost across $2,700 across 2. times of consumption. If you have 10 events there, now you can spread it across 10 events because that ratcheting demand has been achieved.
So it's not for each time the lights are turned on?
No.
But the cost decreases the more you use it.
Well, it
Not decreases, but it evens out, yeah.
Exactly, exactly, Mr. Velardo.
Well, let me ask a question on ratcheting demand, so I'm clear. There is ratcheting demand, isn't there a usage and delivery charge for the electricity used?
Oh, of course.
On top of the ratcheting demand?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So.
That's your KWH.
The ratcheting demand is just to have the capacity to use the electric.
Earl, is that the same thing as a wheeling charge?
Those are all wheeling charges.
Okay, I just heard that word, I don't want to look
Yeah.
smart. I just want to look like I knew what I was talking about. Because I remember people would come to me, one event, I'd say it's 2,600 plus whatever you just said, Russ. They're like, what? I said, the first time we turn it on, it's $2,600. I said a wheeling charge. I didn't know what that meant. I knew it was a city in West Virginia, but most people went away.
Hey, Earl, whenever you have a chance at our counterparts at the city, just ask them what it costs. Are the LEDs in there now?
No.
No? Okay, never mind. Doesn't matter.
I'll talk to you about it.
Okay. So we are on 607, 608. Questions are all answered, I hope. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Kinsemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. And Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, and I appreciate that. Thank you. We'll move on to 609 to 612. We have 4 payments, Danforth and Ferguson and UNS Services. Moved by Mr. Velardo, second by Mr. Kinsemi. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Kinsemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. And we will move on. We do not have any policies to talk about tonight. We are in the public comment period. I have Gloria Dolson signed up. Please, 3 minutes.
You know that clock usually starts before I get here? So you need to start it when I get here. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm just very honored to be here this evening. And for the ladies that came to Abbott and explain about the budget, we truly appreciate it. It was very interesting and very informative, and we got a lot out of it. So thank you, Mr. Laurie, for that.
They were great.
Yes, they were. So it does pay to come in the community. And then before I get started, I'd like to invite each and every one of you to a prayer visual tomorrow, 4 o'clock at City Hall. Hope to see all of our board members and Mr. Capizzi, which I just had the honor of meeting. I didn't know you, but I heard that you own Michael's, so may I get a chance to visit there as well. And congratulations. Same to you, Mr. Kinsemi. Didn't know your platform, but we'll find that one out too. I am very honored to know about our students, these 7th graders at LaSalle Prep. It was 7th and 8th graders. But I remember last year that these students, some of these students came, also went to a fair. But I haven't heard gas skill. Is gas skill included?
Yes, Gaskill is coming. They're not to the stage where they are at. Gaskill has a team. They didn't qualify for the championships, but they're having a slowly building team, and there's a good coach there. I think that's Mr. I'm sorry for answering. I'm sure. Oh, yes, there is. Sorry.
Okay, all right. So I have a good rapport with Mr. McGrath, so I was just wondering, he was also with the students last year. Am I right? Okay, Mr. McGrath, yes. So I know we talk about a lot of times these kids who do our students who do quite well. But my interest right now, too, is that when Mr. Ruffalo and the other gentleman came up here and talked about this, yes, Zello. Is it Zello or Zell? But how is it those students who are in special ed, are they included as well? Those students in special ed? Okay, you and I talk tomorrow. Because I really want to know a lot more about that. Because to me, when you engage these students that I see every day, some of them kind of mischievous, but I think if they know that they're included in their future, that it's a future for them, that maybe they too might be a little bit more enthusiastic about education. Because I see a lot of students that come to school and they're really not engaged, but they come. And I think that's what we kind of think of as long as they come in the door. But in society and in real life, they have to do more than just that, just come in the door. They have to learn. They have to be prepared for life. And we won't be around when that happens. So I see a lot of those kids, if they were, and I don't know what you do because I hadn't seen much and you can tell me, but for those students that are basically getting in trouble a lot or in special ed or whatever the situation is with them that don't seem to be learning, I think those kids might be good at possibly anything, but how are we engaging those students? You might not want to answer it now, but I would like to, get some information on that. I would love to see board members in the community. We did have a tragic killing in Buffalo, hop, skip, and jump from Niagara Falls. But we should know people who serve us in our communities. We need to have more of a connection, engagement. We all go to different churches possibly. Some of you might be Catholic, Protestant or whatever. It makes no sense that we don't even visit each other at all. In Niagara Falls, we are so separated. And we have to be honest about it. In order for us to do better, even when our children must see that we are engaging with one another. If they never see that, when they grow up, they do the same thing. They might want to buy a house out from African American, but we don't need to be doing that. Niagara Falls is too small. We need to be better neighbors. So I know that I use my more than 4 minutes. See, I have a lot to talk about, so that's why I just go on and on and on. I appreciate it, and again, I just hope that we do a lot better in Niagara Falls as far as, engaging with one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Gloria, just a response for the invite. Thank you for the invite tomorrow.
Yes, thank you.
But most of this body is going to the USA Chamber Awards dinner tomorrow night.
Okay.
So I don't want you to be offended if you don't see us.
Oh,
Okay?
yes.
Just wanted you to know.
But it's one on Friday. It's probably quite a few, so.
Is it, I'm sorry, was it Friday?
It's one tomorrow at 4 o'clock at City Hall.
Yeah, the dinner's tomorrow
And
night.
it's one Friday as
Tomorrow.
well, so I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. It's 2 days.
Yes, it's 2 days,
Okay.
so we will get back in touch.
And what time is it on Friday, ma'am?
I'm not sure. It's at noon?
Okay.
Well, see if I'm.
Noon and Friday. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
God bless.
Thank you very much. And Portland Jackson, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Portland Jackson, and if many of you don't know, I ran as one of the candidates for the Niagara Falls School District Board. And I want to say thank you to your district clerk, Ms. Judy. She was very instrumental in helping me through the whole process. I appreciate her for that. And what I want to say is to you, it was my first time running, but it won't be my last. And I got involved with running for this seat, not just to be a board member, to sit on the board, but I got involved to get involved. I have an autistic son, and he is now 31, and he still experiences things that he's gone through since he received his IEP diploma. So that is some of my concerns. Also, our inner city youth, those that have been expelled from school, those have dropped out. So all those are my concerns. So I just again want to say all of you that came out and voted, for myself and for those of you that didn't, still thank you, and also for saying yes to the school budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Go ahead, Mark, Superintendent's
Thank
report.
you.
You're up.
Just a couple of things. Thank you, Portland, and thank you, Gloria. Thank you to everyone who supported the budget. 80.2%. That's a good figure if you look at the budgets across Western New York. That's a good passing rate. Thank you to everybody. Again, Julie and Becky did a great job. Secondly, because we don't have comments after the next meeting, thank you to the candidates. Congratulations to Mr. Capizzi and Mr. Consemi. But thank you, Portland. Thank you, Ms. Streeter-Walker, and thank you, Mr. Sheard. Anybody who gets involved in public education deserves our thanks, my thanks, and we're always available to you. But putting your name and neck out there means a lot. It takes a lot of courage to do that, and a lot of guts, and it really shows you put your money where your mouth is. So I congratulate all 5 of the candidates. I think that's terrific. Judy, you've heard what a wonderful job you did again and again and again. You keep raising the bar. Thank you. Next, I want to talk about a couple of things in relationship to voting. Number one, I share this with you. We are coming off the precipice of a threat, not a credible threat, but a threat. And I am going to begin lobbying very hard again to our legislators. But if we don't change the law, any voting days are going to be remote learning days. It is just counterintuitive to me to allow voting in schools when we have every single security measure in place, and then we allow on those days people that we don't know, and they have a right to come in, and I'm not perjuring anybody that walked in the building, but we don't know everybody, and we have students in the building. So if we have students in the building during a voting day, and we've already planned this for November 7th, and we'll plan it for next school board day, unless the law is changed, we are having remote days. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. But I want to tell you, I'm going to ask for, again, schools are convenient, good parking, well-lit, clean, you know the buildings you have. But there are other places than the 8 schools that we can use on those days, because now safety has taken over that. So I'm going to push for that to be taken out and moved. Sorry, Judy, it's just not worth the safety. But we will, I'm telling you, and I'll work with everyone to make sure those are remote learning days. Secondly, I want to address the threats that were made this week. First of all, I want to thank Chief Del Porto and Chief Cella. Judy, I did it. Chief Faso. Cella was 4 chiefs ago. Chief Faso. Without asking, they had additional police, and we didn't see them. That was part of the plan. You're not going to see them all. They had SWAT team on alert. They had people in places that we didn't want everybody to see, but they were there with a moment's notice. We should not have to do that. These threats on social media have to stop. I spoke to 2 news stations about that today. We need to insist that they're followed through on, they catch the perpetrators, and they, in my opinion, if they're under 18, they also do something with the parents. I know that's legally impossible, but we have to do something. The next thing I'm going to tell you is, the biggest issue that I'm seeing, and we had a presentation from Hyde Park School, we have so many kids with chronic attendance problems. Now you take a day and you put that threat out there, and I don't blame parents, I don't blame them. They're nervous, especially coming off the past weekend, and we have 1/3 of our kids out of school. The threats have to stop. They have to stop. And I am livid about it. We have to follow through. I am not blaming the parents. That's their right to choose. But we lose a third of the kids after we're on a pandemic and still quarantining people. It has to stop. Has to stop. I will be at one of the prayer vigils. Zello is for all students. And I do want to say that it was a tragic, racist, intolerable act that was committed, and we cannot stand for that. We will not stand for that. We have had two situations this week where students, young people, either laughed or thought it wasn't funny, thought it was funny. We've disciplined both of them. Disciplined both of them. I will tell you, there's a difference between parents. In one case, the parent understood, took their child home, was accepting of the short-term suspension, and handled it and thanked us. The other parent fought us. I don't care. They have to receive consequences. That's not acceptable. Not acceptable. All I want to say is, and I know we closed the meeting in honor of people, but I think my last comments will be to remember Pearl, Ruth, Andre, Roberta, Margus, Aaron, Geraldine, Celestine, Hayward, and Catherine. They very well could have been names in our community. So my heart breaks for what we witnessed so close to home. Otherwise, thank you, board members, for your support of the resolutions and personnel this evening. Thank you to the staff, and congratulations to all that ran, particularly Mr. Capizzi and Mr. Consemi on your wins. That's all I have, but I will ask for an executive session.
Saying that, board members' comments. I'll start with Mr. Bass.
First, I just want to extend my condolences to the families of the victims in the Tops shooting. It's senseless, pointless, and as a first responder, it's not something that I ever want to have to experience. I think as a country we need to do better, and we need to acknowledge the issues that we have. As far as the race goes, congratulations to Jimmy and Mike, and thank you to the other three candidates for running a clean and honest race, not getting dirty. I believe that you keep your integrity and you win on your own merit, and I respect you five for keeping it clean. Thank you to the public for supporting the budget. We do this for our kids, and I just appreciate the support and the confidence that we're doing the right things in terms of that. And thank you to our staff for all the work that you've done.
Claire.
Just congratulations to Mr. Cansemi, Mr. Campisi, and to everyone who ran. I appreciate you doing that because we do need more participation in the community. That's the only way our community will get better. So I appreciate all the candidates who ran, and hopefully you'll run again. God bless you all. Thank you.
Nick.
Mr. Bass said my heart goes out to the community in Buffalo, to the families who lost their loved ones in that tragic weekend we had. And it's just a terrible thing to happen anywhere, not alone in Buffalo. But I want to congratulate our students going to Houston. They did a phenomenal job. And on another note, I think this board just doesn't sit on this board. We are all active in the community. And you may not see it every board member at every function, but we're around in the community quite a bit. You know, it may not be me, it might not be, one day it might be me, it might be Mr. Bass, it could be Mrs. Dunn another day, but we are out in the community and we are taking any constructive criticisms and we're bringing it back to the board and we're doing the best for all our kids in our school districts. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Rob?
thoughts and prayers sending out to all of those impacted and affected by the horrific events in Buffalo this past weekend. I want to congratulate Mr. Capizzi and Mr. Consemi on their election wins. And thank you to Portland, Rodney, and Gwendolyn for wanting to make an impact, a positive impact in the community. And I echo Clara's comments. We encourage you all to run again, and anyone in the community that thinks they want to volunteer to help make it a better place for everyone here and all the children. We encourage you to do so, and we thank you for that. Thank you to Ed and Nick and Rick for the great presentation today. And congratulations again to our LSL prep students for their journey to Texas and their wonderful showing. Thanks again to Mr. Laurie for guiding us through what's been a challenging week. And as always, job well done. Thank you very much.
Jimmy.
Everyone who came out and voted for us. I want to thank the people that ran. They kept it a very clean and honorable election race. For the bitterness that's in our country, I just hope that somehow the good Lord comes down and waves a wand. There are so many people that are affected by these 15 deaths, not just them, but their families, their children. You multiply it by probably 15. Mike, thank you for helping me and being there for us. You've done a good job, and I think our board has now seen that. And it's just been a long week. Mark, thank you for your leadership and comments. They're very appropriate, and they're always at the right time. Thank you. Thank you.
Tony.
Okay, again, my heart is broken for the families and the friends and the people of that horrible act over the weekend. I pray that the families can, cope with the terrible, terrible deaths. Again, I'd like to thank the candidates that ran. God bless them also for running a good, clean campaign and keeping everything, the kids come first. Congratulations to the two winners, Mr. Capizzi, Mr. Consemi. Thanks for the girls and guys that put our budget together. It passed well because we're a good district, and all our leadership included. Special thanks to the especially this week with Chief Faso and Chief Del Porto, and folks from the Niagara County Sheriffs, everybody that had a hand in keeping our kids safe. Those metal detectors, everything that we spend, seems like a lot of money. But you know what? Some of these parents should know that you can sleep a little bit better. It's not a fail-safe in any means, but it is better than what it was just a little while ago. Money is no object when it comes to children's safety. And I don't know how more I can say that. On a personal note, I have my last two children, I have 3 children. My last 2 are graduating from college this weekend, UB and Buff State. I'm very proud of them. But what I'm very happy about is those kids were taught in this district by you teachers, the ones that are listening on the air, the ones that are in attendance today. You guys, you folks, did a beautiful job. I have 3 kids now with 4-year degrees, and I couldn't be more proud. And you guys taught them how to read,
taught them the math, taught them the art, whatever they do. And again, I'd like to know that we do a great job in this district. And I couldn't be more proud and more happy to serve in this district. Thank you.
I didn't deliberately skip Mr. Capizzi. He is technically not a member of this board until 8 o'clock, but I'm going to give him a minute or two under the public comment period, if you would like, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Petrosi. I'll hold it to a minute. In accordance with Mr. Bass, I'd like to echo the sentiment of the tragedy this past week. That's first and foremost before any election. But with saying that, I want to say congratulations to Mr. Consemi, and I want to say I want to appreciate the other 3 candidates out there. Every one of them ran this race with class and dignity, and that's what counts. And the more people involved, the better it is for the community as a whole. And just as to my fellow 8 other board members and the superintendent, I've gotten to work with you the last 4 months, and I've learned to respect and grow with every one of you more and more each day. So I look forward to joining you. There's a couple issues that are near and dear to my heart, so I'll be talking to some of you to move that forward, and glad to be part of this body officially in 10 minutes. Thank you, Russ.
Thanks, Mike. A couple quick comments before we adjourn this meeting. We will go into executive session on the special meeting.
We'll go after this.
Yeah. Okay. Question, excuse me. To the 5 candidates, thank you very much. Mike and Jim, congratulations. It's nice to see 5 people that really care about kids in the community. Special thoughts and prayers to all the poor people that were harmed and perished in this crazy act of craziness. You know, we got to do better as a country and as a community. Saying that, we're going to adjourn tonight in the memory of the following. Barbara Ann Dobrez, retired English teacher and math teacher for the district for 37 years, mother of Stan Dobrez and Amanda Dobrez. She is also the wife of Robert Dobrez, who was a member of this Board of Education for 10 years. Joe Ferjone, husband of Lori Ferjone. Doris Randall, mother of Lynn Nouvet, and John and Tony Van Tresca, they are uncles of Jerry Del Zappo. We will adjourn in memory of those people. Motion for adjournment. Mrs. Clara, thank you. Second by Mr. Consemi, all in favor? Aye. Aye, thank you. Next meeting will start at 8. No sense in going to executive. No, by the time we get in there, it'll be time to go. Okay, we have to wait till 8 o'clock for the, did somebody say something? Okay, we have to wait till 8 o'clock, folks, to accept the election results. It's a statutory New York State law. So we'll give it 5 minutes, and we will start that meeting. It's going to last probably a whole 5 minutes.
Well, that's a biggie.
And then Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm missing,
Am I on vacation? Why do you say that?
No, because you go through a lot with these elections and stuff.
Ends of the month, I'm hoping to go see my daughter. I kind of do, but it's okay.
folks and colleagues, I understand Mrs. Walker wanted to speak but didn't sign the sheet. I'm going to make an exception and let her speak before this meeting starts. If anyone has an objection, please state your piece. Not that I might not listen, but you know, come on. No, take your time. Take your time. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to everyone that voted for me. I think you guys are doing a great job. It was just a pleasure to be able to be on the ballot and to be able to run against such wonderful people. Anyway, I will continue to pray for the board, and I just want to say thank you. And congratulations to the winners. All right.
Thank you, Glenn.
I appreciate those kind words, and thank you for coming, and thank you for speaking. Okay, we will move on to the special meeting to accept the election results. Judy, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass.
Present.
Mr. Wilson. Here. Mr. Kinsami. Yes. Mrs. Dunn. Here. Mr. Cadella.
I think excused, not on yet? No?
Mr. Pareto.
Here?
Mr. Velardo. And Mr. Petrosi.
Here. Okay, the purpose of this meeting is to accept the election results from Tuesday evening. So we will move on to number 3, tabulation of results, 3.01, election budget vote results. We have a motion to accept. Mr. Pareto moves. Second by Mrs. Dunn. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Kinsami. Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Cadella. I'm sorry, Mr. Pareto.
Yes.
Mr. Velardo. And Mr. Petrosi.
Yes, thank you very much. Now we shall certify the election results of the budget vote results. That is 4.01, and this is certifying the school election budget vote results. Moved by Mr. Kinsami. I need a second, please. Mr. Pareto on the second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson. Yes. Mr. Kinsami. Yes. Mrs. Dunn. Yes. Mr. Pareto.
Yes.
Mr. Velardo. Yes. Mr. Petrosi.
Yes.
All in favor?
Okay. Judy, would you step up front, please? And Mike, would you step up front? We're going to swear you in.
Bring my pen. Excuse me, we need a pen. I knew I needed it, I just didn't bring it. No, I'm tripping. Okay, Michael. Raise your right hand. Do this again. I, Michael Capizzi Jr.,
I, Michael Capizzi Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of member of the Board of Education
the duties of the member of the Board of Education
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Please
Thank you.
sign my little book right there.
So, saying that, Mike, if you wish, I'll let you make your first official motion. We need a motion to go into executive session. Okay, Mark, you want to read them?
I do. There are 2 executive session items that we need to go into for. There will be no action taken at the conclusion of this executive session. The first is for contract negotiations that are protected under the Taylor Law. In particular, this contract is with the CSEA union. And the second is for personnel matters which may lead to the appointment, promotion, a transfer of a person, persons, or corporation. Those are the 2 items.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, where actually we should have had a second before he did that, but
Yep,
who's
sorry.
the second? Mr. Bilson, any questions? Mark's made the statements. Call the roll, Judy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Executive session 8:04.
Okay, thank you, 8:04. We'll give you the, when we come out. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Thank you. Stay safe.